Hi everybody, it's Debra Burgin with HeartfeltInkspiration.com, and I'm here with Video Wednesday to talk today about 5 punch tips. And I could talk for a long time about punches, but I want to keep this to about 10 minutes. So let me just give you a tip that I don't have on my sheet. If you're finding that you're not able to punch all the way through your material, it doesn't go all the way down, it's quite possible that you have accidentally left or somehow moved this thing into the locked position, in which case it's not going to be able to punch all the way through, and you'll get like the outside edges of your punch but not the inside. So that's the first thing I would check before panicking. Okay, here's my first tip. These are kind of cryptic because I want you to be intrigued. So I have an image here that was stamped with the Daisy Lane set, and I'm going to use the Daisy Punch to punch it out. Okay, that's not a tip. That's pretty obvious. So I'm sure you know that you want to turn almost all of the punches over so you can see what you're doing. If I do that, I can see that I have hardly anything to hold on to, and I gave you this tip a couple weeks ago, unrelated to, well, I'm not sure what it was related to, but anyway, and it is, so this is another one, this is a bonus tip, is to make yourself a handle with a sticky note. Just put it somewhere where it's probably not going to be punched so that you have something to hold on to. One other thing I want to point out is that the image is stamped so that the orientation is the same as the punch. That is to say, I have petals going at 12 and 6, and that's the way the punch is too. You don't want to get into a situation where you're trying to rotate a square or a rectangular panel in a punch, because you probably know it doesn't work well. Okay, so this rule is align one, then the opposite one. Most of our punches now are symmetrical, so this is 6 petals, and it doesn't matter how you line this up in the punch, how it's rotated, it's going to punch right. So knowing that that is true, I'm going to put this in. And I'm looking down here, and I see that I've got that lined up. And what a lot of people do is then they'll move around the image to each petal, trying to line it up. And I will tell you that the rule is align one and then the opposite one. So I'm going to align 6 o'clock, and then I'm going to look at 12 o'clock, and then I would punch. Okay, but I'm going to tell you the second part to this, which is pinch, then punch. So probably all of us have experienced getting something perfectly lined up and punching only to find out that it wasn't lined up as you thought it was, or there's too much space around one of the parts of the image. And I think this is because of the angle of the punch. And I think I could be just way off base on this, but I think it's because of the distance that the inside of the punch has to travel before it actually cuts. So this is why I say, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Align 6 and then look at 12. All the others are going to fall into place, and I'm going to pinch it, but I'm not actually punching it. So as you can see, this is not going anywhere. Here is where I'm going to be able to see exactly where it's going to punch. So this looks excellent to me. I punch. Uh-oh. I did just what I told you not to do. Make sure that it's unlocked. And there we have a beautiful flower. And if you know the Daisy Lane daisy, I'm going to stamp and punch 2 of these and adhere them off center to each other so I have a nice full flower. Okay, so align one, then the opposite one, and pinch your punch. Check the alignment one more time and then punch. Okay, so much for daisies. Then a punch that I come back to all the time is the classic label punch. I especially like it during the holidays because it's just, well, actually birthdays too. So you'll see this appear on the blog quite often. And my tip is to mark the center of your punch. So here you see I have these little dotted lines where the center is going to be. And actually you can see where the center is going to be because there's a little crimp mark in the middle. That helps me get my sentiment, which in this case is from Itty Bitty Christmas. This helps me get it centered. So I'm not just looking at the ends, I'm also looking at that dotted line. Okay, I'm going to do one more. This one is from Itty Bitty Greetings. This one is a slightly long, or no, it's not a longer it's not a longer image. It's going to be a longer distance to the end. Duh. Okay, and you're going to see why I need to look at this a little bit differently to make sure it's good. Okay. All right, so see how nicely centered these are? I'll just show these up here. And discard on the floor. Okay, so those are very nicely centered. And this one, I think is just fine. But this one, there's too much end to it. Sometimes I might put, metallic pearls at the end or something like that. But in this case, instead of a pokey end, I want a flagged end or a notched end. And I showed you a couple weeks ago when I did my first 5 tips in 10 minutes, how to flag an end. But the classic label punch has actually a flagger built into it. Sure, this is what it punches. But if I feed this in from the side, I can punch off just the end. And what I'm going to do is make a mental note, how much I'm chopping off. And then when I do the other end, I make the same amount chopped off. Okay, and then sometimes this happens where you get this little hair, so to speak. I just pulled that off. Okay, so, or snip it off if I had scissors right here. And so that's how you can flag an end. So you still have this beautiful, small, little sentiment, piece. But it's a little shorter. It's more in proportion to the actual image as opposed to that one. Well, that one is proportion. This one is better. Okay, so 2 tips with the same punch, the classic label punch. And by the way, I can't tell you how long it took me to locate the punches in the new annual catalog or not so new annual catalog. So it seems to me that over the past several years, things have remained pretty much in the same place, but I don't know. I think they moved the punches. So, well, okay, I've got a lovely bookmark here to tell you that the punches start on page 165. And here's how you can remember that if you don't remember the page number, is that they come before all of the die cutting. So as soon as you hit the cut and emboss machine pages, you're too far. I think the punches used to be at the end of that. So it's before cut and emboss come the punches. Or you can probably look in the table of contents or the index, but, would we do that? So there you go. Okay, finally, one last tip. If you saw my card on the Heartfelt Inkspiration blog on today, which I think is the 27th of October, you see that I did something that I haven't done really for years, and that's to round these corners. So I had 2 layers here that were rounded, the card front that was rounded, the card back that was rounded, and the inside of the card rounded. Here's how you're going to do that. We used to have a corner rounder, a little tiny little punch. It was very easy to use. However, it had the same, I missed that one. It had the same cautionary warning, sounds kind of serious, that I'm going to tell you about this one, which is the, I think it's the trio punch, the punch trio. I didn't write that down. Okay, so first of all, I want you to note that there's this little floral piece that goes in the corner. There's this one, which looks a little bit like something that a nail clipper would produce. That's a corner thing. And then this one, which is not a corner, it actually punches a hole for a tag. How do I know that? Because of where these, what I call backstops are. So I don't know if you can see those, but I'll just use this bright piece of paper. If I put this in all the way, see how it's straight to the edge, to the end here? Okay, that's going to create, oh, I'll just do it. That's going to create a hole. Okay. This one, which I don't think I've ever used in real life, creates this little floral piece in the corner, but this is the one that I used for this card. So if you look at the backstops here, and for this floral piece, you can clearly see that you're going to put your cardstock in, and it's going to go in at an angle. And that's the tip. Don't rock the corners. So when you put this in, if you're not watching, and I'm doing this upside down, so I hope I get extra credit for this. If you're not watching and you don't have it in straight and you punch, you get this funny little, I don't know what this is, but it's not a round corner. It's a pokey, angular, it's like a bad fingernail clip. Okay, so I'm going to put the cardstock in, and I'm going to rock it back and forth. I'm going to wiggle it, I should say, so that it's not moving. If it's moving, it's not in there right. Now when I punch, that is a beautiful corner. So again, test the seating, if you, whatever. Test the seating of this so that the paper doesn't wiggle back and forth. Okay, so I'm testing, I'm punching. Beautiful. Wow. Okay, so I don't know how many minutes this is. 12 minutes, but I had some bonus tips in here. So again, we had a line for a symmetrical punch, a line one, then the opposite one, and pinch your work before you punch it. For the classic label punch, mark the center. That's not just the classic label. It's anything that has, is any kind of a label punch. Flag the ends of a classic label, and then finally, don't rock the corners. So, this is Heartfelt Inkspiration with Debra Burgin, and it's not straight anymore. That just, okay, there I am with my very own hands, and I hope to see you next week. I apologize when I skip a week because I have my holiday Stamp-A-Stack to go that I'm preparing, and it's a lot of work. So sometimes I'm going to be missing a week. But I will see you soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.